All right, welcome everybody. We're excited about this one. We're going to be talking about all things sales development, the new rules of outbound in this AI era. To do that, I brought on Katherine Andruha. I think it's been like 10 years, hasn't it, Katherine?
Yeah, maybe more, you
I
know?
think, I think we met originally when she was hanging out at Aptus. I feel like I'm getting
Yeah,
old on
I
these
know.
conversations. It's
It's
like,
not
it's
even
not like,
Aptus anymore. It's Conga. Isn't that wild?
oh my goodness, you're
Yeah,
right. Oh, yes. I bet no one even knows what Aptus even probably is now.
yeah.
Um, but it was an awesome company back then, and she's done some cool stuff. So I want to dive into SDRs, but
Yes.
maybe just give us the quick update. What's been the last? What have you been doing the last 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, besides running a bunch of go-to-market teams, I've gone through a couple of different IPOs. So really excited about that. One at Anaplan and one at Coursera.
Plan is
And
awesome.
now have been working most recently with Scale Venture Partners as a go-to-market advisor there and helping out their portfolio companies with probably some of the questions that you all are thinking that you need answered as well today. But it's been really exciting because I've been getting a lot of perspective from small companies, mid-market to enterprise-sized
Oh
companies.
my goodness.
And yeah, I've been able to dabble in some AI tools, but I think what's really exciting is, seeing what's sticking in SDR land that's been around for a while
Yeah.
versus what's changing and moving with the times. So I think that's what keeps me so passionate about this role and in it.
Yeah, and it's funny, one of the things, Catherine, she's like one of those Swiss Army knives. I think she
Yes.
can do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
That's some of the consulting that she's doing. But when it comes to sales development and scaling large teams, like they're about probably is nobody better than this. So I'm excited to dive into this topic. So let's do it. Let's start big picture. You've led SDR teams through some major growth at companies. You mentioned some of them in the past. What do you feel like is some of these foundational skills that SDRs need, even with some of the AI tools available?
Yeah. I always look at people, process, and performance
Yeah.
whenever I'm looking at an organization. And, when you're looking at your players that are in the field, I think it's important to look at that skill versus that will. And some skills that have not changed that the smartest and most successful BDRs possess are really around that curiosity and active listening and
Mm,
being able to objection handle, but that continuous learning sets them apart from other SDRs. And in return, they have a higher level of business acumen when they're on the phones. And they're the ones that, if you haven't employed AI, they've gone out and they've employed AI on their own to research, to look at the data within your system, to send out the right messages. So, I
yeah.
would say if you're looking at your team, take a look at those players and start running prospecting drills and start looking at the data that you have in the system and even the tools that you're using and how can you use their AI functionality to make your team better. I
Yeah.
just you have to lean in hard.
Yeah, it does seem like that's an easy win, right? It's like you already have so
Yeah.
many tools, maybe look at, some of the current ones to see what AI functionality they have. And then you're right. It's like the tools are changing. I do feel like they
All the
are
time.
changing. And you know
Yes.
what? That'd be a fun conversation with you and I. Like, what's the future of tech for SDRs?
Yeah.
But your point on like the fundamentals, the curiosity, the active listening, I think some of that, or I mean, a lot of that's still true. Is there a couple new skills that you see coming to bear that the new successful SDRs are having that maybe weren't as much, when you and I were chatting a decade ago?
Yeah, I would say that let's say some of them have augmented, right? So the curiosity behind the most successful BDRs in the
Hmm.
past, they would lean in and meet with their AEs and jump on discovery calls and understand the process and understand the buyer and which is great.
Yeah.
I think now that curiosity is leaning more into how can I be super great at my role?
Mm,
And
mm,
what tools can I use to be great at my role? Or better yet, if you're an SDR listening to this now, share that with your manager so you can come in and say, how can our team be better at what they're doing? And let me take this on and be that team lead that shares these types of tools with the team. I think that's what's
That's
augmenting. It's not
awesome. That's awesome.
necessarily,
Yeah.
yeah, that the skills have changed. Like there's different skills out there, but I
They're just
think
funneling
that
it
they've
different.
augmented.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it does. That's a great way to frame it because there's obviously new stuff, but it is just leaning in a different avenue there.
Right.
I like this idea, tools training. You've talked about it a lot. Many teams confuse tools. I think maybe with training or they become so reliant on tools. How do you prevent that? How do you prevent SDRs from becoming so reliant on tools or automation and missing kind of like, hey, there is a core function for this role, and you do need to understand the why. How have you played that game?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all still humans, right? So you have to build that rapport still with your customer base and with your prospects. So as a leader, like from a high level, look at how many tools you're actually putting in front of your BDRs and SDRs and
Mm,
start evaluating what you have in place first. I think less is more always when it comes to tooling, just simply because that shiny object distracts your team for their core focus of actually booking pipeline.
yeah,
So you want to make sure that your team also understands the why behind each tools and how they're going to use it. Um, Zoom Info, for example, I know that's a big dog in the market,
sure.
but they have so many different tools within their platform that you can use to reach out to prospects. It's not just about org charts anymore. Nooks, for example, isn't just a dialer tool. It's more of an engagement platform now and being able to use it to train and mock call and build data list and really understand your prospects' pain points. So I think the most important part of this and a tactical takeaway from those managers and VPs that are listening is you have to understand each tool that they're using, how they're using it, and build that like decision tree playbook on how to identify the right tools to use and what each tool steps
Yeah.
that the team needs to take. I think that's the biggest problem is there's not enough training and continuous learning on those tools.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse probably. So I mean, I think
Oh
taking your
yeah.
advice and um with so much AI coming out and more AI, I'm going to use the word tool. Some maybe aren't
Yep.
as much of a tool, but it feels like I did have one RevOps leader say the other day. He was like, "I don't know if I can do it, Gabe. I got 72 different SaaS tools and 72 different vendors. If I add another 72 AI tools to them, it's going to
Totally.
so getting some structure to that fast is probably not a bad idea. Do you feel one of the things that I've always loved about you is I feel like you've been a career pathing person. You've
Yep.
always kind of been able to, I think, manage kind of the leadership echelons, but also be able to hang with the team and kind of show that vision of where they go. AI is certainly changing the shape of teams. We got maybe new roles coming on, new
Yep.
skill sets we talked about, inbound, outbound, etc. What's your take on this career path, and how does it evolve in this AI era? Thoughts on that? On
I
this?
know, right? I mean, to be honest with you, I think more companies need a career path for their BDRs. They're expecting BDRs and SDRs to just hang out for 18 months and then they're upset when they leave. Of course, they're going to leave. They want to be AEs or they want to go into marketing or they want to help lead in CSMs. I think creating an internal career path within your organization, first and foremost, is a way to
Yeah.
keep them engaged within your organization. So,
Mm.
really looking at those BDRs that number one are embracing the change of AI, number two are giving back to your team is really important. But
Mm.
you need to start planting in these micro AE skills into your continuous learning if you want to see them progress in their career within your organization. So I say like build a three-tier career path. You have BDR one, which is mastering the outreach
Right.
fundamentals and the tool proficiency of that organization. BDR two, that's who's running those light discovery calls and collaborating with AEs on strategy and such. And then you have your senior BDR.
Yeah.
They own those small transactional closes or inbound triage, and that you tie your promotion into the AEs with that skill mastery, and it's not just based on activity volume. I think
Yeah.
what's also important to note is that you have to build this with your sales leaders in mind. So you need to have that go to market alignment, because you could think that this is what your AE team is looking for, but they could be like, no, actually, we need someone that knows how to close these large enterprise deals and have this product,
Yeah, for sure.
fundamentally understanding the product and the space. But I would really align with your leadership teams and make sure that this path
This is
aligns to
where
what
it's
they're
going.
looking for.
Where do you see the future? Do you see? I mean, you've been, I think, super creative in market. These guys
Yeah.
roles can go into marketing and sales and CSM. Do you see that continuing on? I mean, a lot of companies I don't think ever got that far. Do you think it narrows in more? Do you think that that path leads more to RevOps because of some of those things, like they're getting so much more technical, a little more of the tools, the engineering, or do you
Yeah.
still think it's just a great feeder for the org? And that would be your advice: open it up, let them kind of experience BDRs, and then move into the rest of the company.
I think RevOps is amazing. I think
Yeah,
that's a really
like a
great
home run, right? Yeah,
home run for an SDR, especially some of the best SDR ops individuals were previous
for
BDRs
sure.
and SDRs. They know intuitively what your team needs. And I think there's a major breakdown that sales ops thinks that
Yeah.
BDR ops needs the exact same thing, or that function needs the exact same thing. And it's, in some ways, yes, it is true. There is some thread, there is some themes that run through there, but I would say you got to have that opening and really build it out. And what a great internal promotion hoorah, right? Like, look, we're able to do this. And on top of that, my latest one that I've been pushing for in a lot of different orgs is getting that SDR AI ops role
Mm,
approved. You need an AI SDR ops person. This is not someone who's, or tool person, let's say. This is not someone who's running your
okay.
metrics, who's running your reports and giving you insights that way. This is someone who's rolling your tools out, your outreach tools are syncing with your Zoom
Interesting.
info, syncing with your Nooks. I mean, everything has to run. And
I
I think
like
a
that.
lot of the times, I'm kind of, spitballing here, is these leaders take it on themselves and they're coordinating and begging for time from these ops individuals that are not necessarily 100% with just BDRs. And I get that. Like, we're not always a priority, but how
Yeah,
cool would it be if you could show that ROI? Like, look, let me give you ROI and all of these hundreds of thousands of dollars you put into
yeah.
these tools. Let me show you with this individual. That is by far a game changer, is the resource and support staff for BDR organizations.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I was just debating with somebody the other day about um, like the GTM engineering role, and how
Right.
that it's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong. We were debating on kind of what the evolution is, meaning for a while it's been fairly heavy. Engineering is probably the right name because in some ways they've really like stitched together hundreds of tools and they've gone very deep in building flows um, and something like that has been needed. I wondered if it would simplify a little bit as the technology continues to evolve and it won't be so engineering focused. And I actually loved the word like AI ops, just in
Yeah.
the sense of it's definitely needed. It's going to be more AI focused. I think there'll be hopefully less engineering, less huge scaling and stuff like that, and a little more maybe coercion between tools and working with people. So I was like, God, engineering feels a little bit heavy, but yeah, I love that name, AI ops, and definitely needed to support because
Totally.
it's so hard in the teams these days. You're right. You have to the sales ops person can never help the marketing ops person. That rev ops team, that's still a little bit of work to make that right. But the group that often gets the most hurt is the sales. It's like, okay, managers, you got to coach, you got to do
Yeah.
the metrics, you got to be the GTM engineers, you got to be the tools, you got to be and if you have a question, you can go to rev ops, but they're doing sales ops and marketing ops.
Well, and we're asking, I mean, this is the wild part, right? Like, let's just rip off the Band-Aid here. Is you're asking these managers who have maybe been in their role for 3 to 5 years, right? Which is great. It's a great stepping stone. But they were once BDRs as well. They probably just came out of college, or they are in their second job. And they're the ones that are the face of your organization, yet and the first interaction, but yet they are the least resourced for continuous learning. And that is what I struggle with, is like, how can I make this role exciting, be super nice and cool and hip with it, and still do it all on my own with like maybe a couple of like breadcrumbs here and there. It needs to be a place that is considered a strategic lever in your revenue
Yeah.
engine. It needs to be. You put so much money into inbound leads and into outbounding, and everybody wonders why the ROI isn't there or why the leads aren't that great or whatever it is. But you got to like really uncover it, because it is a strategic, if you can get that motion moving, my goodness, there are so many companies that have done a fantastic job of really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like supporting, but really using their SDR teams as their front line of
Yeah.
success. And those are the companies that I find are most successful.
It's so interesting. Your point. It's we just have still not nailed that. Yeah, they're like the first brand touch. They make up so much of our. They're interacting with all our prospects, and to your point, we're always trying to find ways to like cheat them, cut them, minimize
Yeah.
it. It's kind of like and there's got to be a balance here, and I'm not saying I have the answer. It's
No,
just
no do I.
oftentimes I feel like the answer isn't always to like take the lowest common denominator. So it's a great call out. Want to see if I can hit you with a few more
Yeah,
while I've still got you here. I'm
let's go.
curious on tools. We obviously
Yeah.
hit the tools thing, and you've been coaching groups and mentoring different companies. But as you think about scaling a team and evaluating some of these AI tools, um, how do you one choose it, but then how do you encourage the adoption? What's been going on there? Because it is important to find it and get them using it. It's sometimes hard to do.
Yeah. I think it's hard to get anybody to do anything nowadays, right? Because everyone seems to have a better answer than what you're providing to them, you know? I've just found that if you can integrate a couple of BDRs and SDRs into your decision-making process, or have them be testers for you, you've now gathered them in and you're collecting their feedback. Their buy-in is there, right? Because they're feeling like they're part of the process. I do lean in hard and try to understand what the team is doing. I
Yeah.
ask a lot of questions. Sometimes that doesn't come off well, but I'm like, I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what are you doing? Good, bad, or whatever. I'm curious, because the minute you start sharing with your manager what you're doing, here's the thing, folks, and if you're an SDR listening, your managers don't know everything that you're doing, because
Yeah.
they've got 15 of you that they're managing. So share with them. Take that one-on-one time tactically to share with them everything that you're doing, because guess what? You could be using a tool that they don't know about yet that could help the entire org.
Yeah.
That's why we
That's
ask
true.
the questions. Um, so I really, really encourage people to communicate that way. But then I think what's also super important is you have to find ways to message and relay the communication to the team.
Yeah.
So I'll always send an email, send a Slack message. I over communicate, which I know some BDRs and SDRs and managers can't stand it, but everybody you know, takes learning differently, and they receive messages differently. So,
Yeah.
email, Slack, I do an all hands call where we talk about what we're changing. We reiterate it on the next all hands call. I join team meetings. I
Totally.
share it with my sales team.
Over communicate. Yeah.
Over communicate. And then on top of that, you have to provide these videos and put it on your LMS or your intranet,
Mm,
wherever you post this information,
sure.
so that your team can go back and review it again.
Makes
I think
sense. Makes sense. I
there's
love the
just
over
so
communication.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you just assume they've got it and they're just not doing it. Is there any quick advice how you've managed the quality and quantity type thing? I mean, as I hear you kind of talk, and a lot of these tools we're getting they are so focused on just, oftentimes it's more. More
Right.
emails, for example, is obviously the low common denominator there. But how do you kind of balance that quality outreach and kind of quantity, and not get into the vanity metrics?
Yeah, I think it's really important that you set your tools up properly,
Yeah.
right? So, anytime that we set up outreach, I always have a set of templates that the team uses because not only should you be using those templates, it's product marketing approved, it's engineering approved, it's your leadership has approved it,
Right.
marketing has,
Right.
but
Right.
it
Right.
allows you to move faster, right? And then from there, you can add in some personalization is or add some personalization into that
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
sequence. So that's how I manage that quality versus quantity approach. But
Got it.
look, I get it. Activities matter.
They do.
And
Yeah. They do. They
people
still do. They still
they
do.
still do. And the
Yeah.
thing is, though, is that which activities are you monitoring? Like, if you're a BDR and you're not hitting 50 calls a day, but your pipeline is 120% of quota, I care more about your pipeline because
Yeah.
obviously you're calling the right people. And I really love using conversion metrics to see how the team is actually progressing forward.
Yeah.
That's great. You called 50 people, but you got 0% in conversion. That's not helpful to me.
Mhm.
Who are you calling? What are the emails that you're using? What are the
Totally.
calls? So you really
Totally.
have to dive in deep. And once again, if you're too busy building out tools and doing messaging and doing all this stuff, you don't have time to do this with your BDR. So really push forward for those resources to help support you.
No, I think that's right. That is a good balance there. So, as we wrap,
Yep.
fun to kind of talk through AI, SDR,
Ooh.
career path, etc. I'm sure it'd be fun. I'm sure we could go 2 more hours. But what would kind of what's that one mindset shift that you'd want every SDR leader to leave with when it comes to kind of building reps who can succeed and probably truthfully with or without AI right now?
I think it's really important to recognize that AI is not, number one, going to replace you.
Yeah,
Two, if you can embrace it and use it properly, it's actually going to make you more successful.
yeah,
But just remember, like, it's giving you the resources and tools to help you as a human being, but it's up
yeah.
to you to continuously learn and develop, whether you're a BDR or an SDR, wanting to be a CSM leader, wanting to go into the
Mm,
sales track or go into marketing or RevOps,
yeah.
you have to think behind the AI and how you can use it to progress your
So
future.
true. So true. No, look, I think I love this. I don't know if we're going to be replaced, but those who
Yeah,
use it are probably going to outperform those who don't. And so
totally.
find a way to get involved and get action. And hopefully you're learning a lot from Kat and others. So, okay.
Amazing.
Well, again, appreciate the call.
Yes.
If someone wants to learn a little more, dive into this topic, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Catherine?
Dude, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm there, but let me know what you saw and if it's from this podcast or not, because a lot of the times people hit me up and they don't tell me who they are.
Yeah, that's right. I love that clarifying point. So,
Yeah.
again, thanks so much for joining and for the
Thank
audience. Have a
you.
fantastic day.